Hello ladies and nerds, and welcome to the DCU, an alternative universe where I create the DCEU, or I guess not the DCU, as I see fit. So where do we start this massive franchise that'll span generations? What's going to be the foundation? What's the first move? Well, it's the Batman, because it's kind of the only move that makes sense. He's a world-renowned icon. Even if you don't know comics, you know this symbol. Also, just a heads up, there will be some minor similarities between my version of the film and Matt Reeves' version. Great minds think alike. Also, for what it's worth, I came up with a rough idea of this pitch back in 2012 when it was believed that possibly Leonardo DiCaprio might play the Riddler. So, yeah, there are some differences, but just a heads up on that. Also, I do take a lot of inspiration from the 2013 comic book Batman Zero Year, which if you haven't read it, read it. It's pretty good. It gives you the introduction of the Red Hood as a menacing monster, which, yeah, fits. Also, a pretty good version of the Riddler. So, check that out as well. So, all that said, let's dive into it. We open on a circus. A young man stands on top of a trapeze, watching his parents fall to their deaths. It's a nightmare. The boy wakes up in a cold sweat. We open, not with Bruce Wayne, but with a young Dick Grayson. He's at an orphanage. He is convinced that there was foul play, and that's why his parents are dead, but the police won't believe him. Dick takes it upon himself to go back to the circus to investigate, but when he arrives, he sees a few thugs interrogating Old Man Haley. You've got two choices, Haley. Either you transport our product across state lines, or your circus has another little accident. Dick hears this and calls the men outside to fight in the rain. He's got courage, but not a lot of sense. He's 12 after all. He's able to dodge and duck the thugs for a moment until one of them hits him in the back of the head. Before they can hurt him any further, who should appear but the Batman? As Dick Grayson passes out, he sees Batman beating up the thugs and telling them Haley's circus is off limits. It's under the protection of the Batman. Dick wakes up in an infirmary, but he's not at the hospital. He's at the Batcave. Batman tells Dick Grayson that it was Danny Zuko who cut the lines. However, Danny Zuko is now a made man. It'll take time to build a case against him, but he'll handle it. Dick Grayson pushes back, saying no, he will go after him. The police didn't do anything. Why would Batman? Batman tells him, you'll get yourself killed. Dick Grayson says, I have to try. I owe them that. I'll make you a deal. I'll train you, teach you everything I know, teach you how to use your grief and your anger and how to channel it. I'll train you so that you can take down Danny Zuko the right way. Not with vengeance, but justice. Dick Grayson looks at him. When do we start? Tonight. Batman takes off his helmet to reveal his face. I'm Bruce Wayne. And the two shake hands. And title card. 3 years later. We cut to Wayne Tech Tower. Bruce is walking with Lucius Fox. All the upgrades are complete. Your suit is ready to go. What about the other suit? It's ready when he is. So quick time out. I hope that establishes where we're at and why we're doing the things that we do. Why this grown man that's basically a trained ninja would train this 12-year-old kid to be a crime fighter. He wants Dick Grayson to do it the right way. Justice, not vengeance. Also, that little time delay should explain, 1, his training, but 2, we're not going to endanger a 12-year-old. Just a 15-year-old. Let's get back to it. They both look back to look at a now 15-year-old Dick Grayson. We cut to that night, and we see Batman and Dick Grayson stopping a robbery. It's very reminiscent of the Batman animated series, the part where he chases down those thugs on top of the building and whatnot. However, very distinctly, we don't have Robin. It's Dick Grayson. He does not have the iconic red, gold, and green costume yet. It's black. It's basically like a mini bat suit, but without the cowl. We cut to a small apartment. There are old newspaper clippings that litter the wall, old pictures, and even some old VHS tapes. Real quick, I feel like this is worth saying. So, kids, this... Drop that. This is what a VHS is. Yeah. There's an old man watching TV. The news anchor comes on and says, it's been 5 years since the first reported sighting of the Batman, but tonight, it seems like a new Bat Boy may have made their debut. The old man huffs and changes the channel. The next day, Bruce is dropping off Dick Grayson at school. Dick asks, when are we going to start going after Zuko? Bruce responds, they're going to go after him soon, but he's working on some leads. Also, that same morning, at Wayne Tech Tower, Bruce runs into a woman who's dropping off an invitation, a beautiful young woman by the name of Talia al Ghul. She's new in town. She's throwing a big bash and she hopes that Bruce will be there. They do flirt a little bit. When we come back to the old man's apartment, he's in a rush. He's in a rage. He's throwing things around angrily, breaking chairs. We hear a light voiceover saying, "It's best if you get your affairs in order. It's inoperable. Maybe go to a counseling center to help you cope." He doesn't calm down until he looks at a picture of himself in his youth. He's younger, and he's in a costume, in a green suit with a bowler hat, along with some other miscreants. He grabs his keys and drives a distance to an old warehouse. It's dusty, with computers slowly turning on, with a voiceover saying, "Welcome back, Riddler." And just an FYI, all this tech is from the 80s. Seems like no one's been there in a very long time. The old man goes downstairs into the basement, somewhere hidden. He presses a few buttons, and a chamber comes out, opening and unfreezing. A man thaws out, looks up and says, "Enigma, did you do it?" I'm afraid chemical engineering isn't my strong suit. That said, I think I know someone who can. You help me, and I'll help you. We then come to the view of a jewelry store. There's a laser grid, but someone's dancing around the lasers while stealing very expensive-looking diamonds. Once outside, we get a clear view. It's Catwoman. As she breaks out of the building, we see Batman and Dick Grayson give chase, but before they can catch her, insert explosion here. Batman and Dick Grayson grapple from the jewelry store towards Wayne Tech Tower. We then get an action sequence of Batman and Dick Grayson saving people. Notably, there are still some miscues between Batman and Dick. They're still learning after all. Once the fire is under control, Batman and Dick Grayson go to the top floor to check where the fire began. It was in a lab. And it's at this point that we get our first look at one James Gordon. And it's very clear from their body language that Batman and Gordon know each other. They're allies. It's taken a few years, but they trust each other. Gordon says, "Most of the building was empty due to the time of night. There was someone who broke in, a repair guy that was never ordered. Corporate espionage? Possibly. The only person not accounted for is a Preston Payne, the chemist. You know him? His work in biochemical engineering is big money. I'll check it out." Dick is able to find something out of the ordinary. A blank piece of paper that only says, "I am invisible to the naked eye, but if you find me, you'll know my name. What am I?" Batman says, "A fingerprint." Before Batman can leave, Gordon says, "I need your help with another case. A kidnapping, but on a larger scale." Gordon is about to hand Batman the file when Dick grabs it and starts going through it. "We're on it." Now look, I know everything I just said sounds cringe. That's kind of the point. Dick Grayson is a kid trying to play hero. He's trying to be taken seriously. That kid, he can't be older than 15. Is he your son? Protege. Someone I'm teaching. Fair enough. There are young women that are going missing around the ages of 15 to 18, all around the same height and build. Dick Grayson says, "Odd, most of them are natural blondes, but not all of them." Gordon says, "Do you see a possible pattern?" Dick says, "Maybe." We're on the case. Back in the Batcave, we meet Harold. He's an old stable of the Batman comics. He's the mechanic who actually created the legendary Batmobile. Now, the Batcave isn't exactly what you'd expect. While there are some trophies and computer screens, it's not the B-Task cave, at least not yet. The fingerprint is found to belong to one Edward R. Nigma, aka the Riddler. "Who?" says Dick Grayson. We then get a history lesson from Alfred. Edward Nigma, aka the Riddler, is believed to be the last remaining member of the League of Villains still alive. He was their final recruit before the government really came down on costumed heroes and villains alike. After the hammer came down, most of them were brought in, except the Riddler and a few other villains, but no trace of him has been seen since 1983. So why would he be starting trouble now? We cut to a hideout, in a basement where girls are being kept. One thug says, "That's 10. 2 more, and we'll have the dozen ordered." We then cut to school where Dick is hearing that a classmate by the name of Stacy has gone missing. When Bruce is picking him up, "I have a lead on the Zuko case. But what about the girls?" "I believe the two are related." We then see Batman and Dick in costume interrogating a thug we just saw. "Look, I don't know who the buyer is. I just know that they need a few more girls." "Where are they?" I don't know. They move them every day." "Give me something." The barbecue joint on 25th and Burns, it's Zuko's spot. He uses it to launder his money. Batman leaves the guy hanging upside down while they go to the restaurant. Nothing is really out of the ordinary, but Robin does notice something odd. A van parked outside. It says Z's Music Supplies. "You have school in the morning. We'll pick this up tomorrow." "Well, what about the girls?" "They aren't going to be moved at daylight." I'll press for more information. Maybe Gordon has something. Either way, We continue tomorrow. We then come back to the Riddler and Clayface in their hideout. The scientist that was kidnapped is hard at work, examining Clayface. Clayface asks Riddler what's the next move, but that's when he says, patience. Tonight, we ring the bell. We cut to Talia al Ghul's party. Dick asks Bruce, why are we here? Shouldn't we be out on patrol? But Bruce responds, we need to show face, or else people might begin to get suspicious. Now show me your detective skills. What do you see? Dick is looking around, and he notices little things that most people wouldn't. How so-and-so just got back because of their tan. So-and-so and so-and-so are sleeping together because of these physical signs. That guy over there doesn't realize it, but he has this disease. We should probably tell him. Things like that. Dick Grayson is becoming a great detective because of what Batman taught him. We also have a scene of Bruce and Talia talking. They bond over both being students of Mux in the Appalachian Mountains. She's well-traveled, and Bruce likes that about her. But then, everything goes black, and then all the screens go a shade of green. Then a question mark. Gotham. Over 35 years, I remained dormant, quiet in the shadows, resigned to letting my name die. But then someone appeared. Someone inspired me. And I'll give you a hint. What is black and flies? What is black and dies? A bet. Batman, you and I are going to play a game of chess, and this city will be our board. As to how many pawns die, well, that's up to you. Good luck. Talia turns, and Bruce is gone. Bruce and Dick are driving home when Alfred calls. The person using this is smart. They bounce the signal off a different server every 30 seconds. It's impossible to trace. Alfred also says, Sir, it's Gordon. There's been another murder. Sending coordinates now. Also, sir, Miss Talia called. And? I told her you had a work emergency. She wants to grab breakfast when you're free. Thank you, Alfred. By the time Batman and Robin get to the crime scene, the police have already arrived. So they enter through the back. Batman is able to recreate the crime scene kind of like what we saw in Arkham Origins. Gordon briefs Batman on the victim. Velma Blake, famed news anchor, the same lady that we saw earlier. Batman says, I think there's a connection here. Time of death was during the Riddler announcement. Gordon says, you think the two are connected? It's too much of a coincidence. The only thing out of the ordinary is the old journal, with some blood on it. As Batman and Dick Grayson head back to the cave, Batman sees a snitch he's had his eye on. They interrogate him. He's a high-ranking member of the Zuko family. He gives up that Zuko is kidnapping these girls for a guy by the name of Tetch. In exchange, Tetch will give him more of his weird technology. The next night, back at the Riddler's warehouse, we see thugs arming up, while Clayface is also giving a sample to Preston. Your molecules are faster than they were last time. What caused this mutation? Were you born this way? No, I wasn't born this way. I had some addictions back in my day. It was costing me jobs. I was told that this cocktail would be the thing to help me quit cold turkey. Then my skin started to stretch, and now this. The Riddler chimes in. Pack up, everyone. It's time. There's a charity gala underway when the armed thugs break in. They hold hostages, while Riddler and Clayface drag a particular man into an office. The Riddler asks Daniel Powers, do you remember me? No. You stole my designs. With the microchip I created, you found a fortune of a company. And I'm here to take what's mine. Half. As the Riddler is draining Daniel Powers' bank accounts, Batman and Dick Grayson arrive on the scene. Batman and Dick Grayson are able to take out most of the goons, but the reveal of Clayface holds them off. Clayface is a notably tough son of a bitch. In the Batmobile, okay, that's two old villains from the 80s coming back. What's going on? Batman will continue to follow leads while Dick goes back to school. Alfred offers to drive him, but Dick says, no, I think I'll walk. I need to clear my head on this case. While walking, he notices something. The van from Zuko's restaurant. Before he can call for backup, a girl is grabbed and the van speeds off. We then get a sequence of Dick Grayson using skateboards, parkour, and good old-fashioned footwork to try and keep up with the van. It pulls into a building. Dick doesn't have his costume, so he has to improvise, with a red hoodie and a mask. He sees that they have all the girls and that they're about to transport them for sale. With no other choice, he activates an SOS to Batman while going in and causing trouble. Dick fights his way through all the thugs, kind of similar to the Daredevil hallway fight scene. It's brutal, but he fights his way all the way until he gets to Zuko, and it's just the two of them on the rooftop. It's a bare-knuckle fight that goes all the way. Zuko falls off a ledge, but Dick grabs his hand and pulls him up. He ties him up, leaving him for the cops. Batman appears, and he asks, why did you let him live? And Dick responds, he has to answer for everything that he's done. To your parents. To those kidnapped girls. the people he's hurt, and yeah, Mom and Dad too. Dick starts to cry, and Bruce hugs him. How about you skip school today? Selena Kyle is contracted for a job. There's a journal in police evidence. It belonged to Velma Blake. The Riddler needs it. She's provided a blueprint along with a few days to prep, and a specific window to which she should be able to get in. Another body is found hanging at the local college. This time is the president of Gotham University. His office is pretty clean, except for some minor traces of dirt. Gordon tells Batman, we need to work on getting ahead of this. Batman, I have a potential lead I'm looking into tonight. Gordon notices Dick Grayson, but he has a few bruises. Gordon says, can I talk to you? Alone. Batman says, go on. What the hell happened to him? He's the one who took down Zuko. By himself. He didn't want to wait for help. Look, I've never questioned your methods. Lord knows you've done more good for the city than most, but if anything happens to him, I will drop you from a great height. On the way home, Dick asks, what was all that about? Batman says, Gordon is concerned about you. I can hold my own. Those thugs were common. The Riddler, his body count is rising fast. He's not some young punk either, he's seasoned. I want you to stand down on this one. But that's an order. There are monsters and a maniac with a genius-level intellect. So this incident, among other things, should cause a good amount of dissent between Batman and Dick Grayson. For the future, I want them fighting. I want there to be tension throughout the story between the two of them. There's trust, but also, I don't want you to get hurt. And what's the worst thing you can tell a teenager who wants to be a superhero other than, I don't want you to get hurt? We're in a townhouse. A man tells his wife goodnight as she goes upstairs to sleep. He's watching a baseball game. After the door closes, he says, you can come out of the shadows, kid. I heard you come in during the 5th inning. Batman comes out, and the old man closes the garage door. Simon Trent, a.k.a. the Grey Ghost. Can you tell me why you're on the payroll of Wayne Tech? And why do you have level red clearance for a building? And where were you 6 nights ago? Kid, I don't like what you're implying. Your old man was far more polite than you. Batman flinches slightly for a moment. You and him have the same jawline. But how? That trick you played on the docks all those years ago fooled a lot of people, but not me. Batman saves billionaire playboy. I don't know how you faked it, but it wasn't enough. Now, what would you like to know? Why have you been on Wayne Tech's payroll for the last 40 years? When the government came down on costumes, your father reached out to me. I was a consultant, you could say. I helped him try and fight the mob and corruption. In exchange, I never had to worry about my wife or daughters. That explains the clearance. And I was at Powers Park last Friday watching us get our asses kicked by Central City. Batman takes off his helmet and sits down. What can you tell me about the Riddler and Clayface? I've never fought anything like this before. Riddler? He's not tough. He likes to talk. But there will be a million barriers between you and him. He doesn't like it when you show that you're smarter than him. And Clayface? Oh, you can shoot him, you can punch him, you can set him on fire. Nothing stops him. The only time he was ever really vulnerable was when it was winter. It was harder for him to move around. Thank you. Batman gets up. Bruce, about your parents. He stops and looks. Do you know who did it? I looked for years. I couldn't find anything, I'm sorry. Bruce puts on his helmet and says, for what it's worth, growing up, you inspired me. You are my hero. Batman leaves, and the old man looks at a picture of himself and Thomas Wayne. Cut to a fancy restaurant. Talia and Bruce are finally having breakfast. Talia talks about her father, that he's a great man, but he never seems to see her. He always wanted a son. Bruce talks a little bit about his parents, about his father, how he tried to do better for the city, and how his mother was such a caring person, all the charities she ran. They hold hands. Bruce is opening up to her, but he stops short of talking about their deaths. Batman is then at the Batcave, cross-referencing the two victims. The dean that was killed was Nigma's classmate. Old reports of the university show that the dean had filed a complaint against Nigma, citing dangerous lab experiments. Some particularly toxic chemicals went missing, and Nigma was kicked out of the school. Then there's Velma Blake. She worked as a nurse's assistant at a rehab ward in Gotham Hospital. She was dating Nigma, but a few weeks after he was kicked out of the school, they broke up. A parcel is delivered to GCPD, addressed to the Batman. We get to see the bat signal. He arrives. But Gordon asks, "Where's the kid?" Batman responds, "He's sitting this one out." Smart call. He and Batman open the package and figure out the riddle. The answer is the Gotham City clock tower at midnight. Dick argues with Batman to let him go and help, but Batman argues it's too dangerous. We're trying to create more tension. Just as Batman leaves GCPD to go save the people at the clock tower, we see Catwoman breaking in to try and find the evidence. However, it's taking too long. There's way too many boxes and way too much stuff. Before she can find the journal, Batman returns. At GCPD, Catwoman is going through evidence boxes, still unable to find the journal when Batman gets back after saving the two people. He's upstairs with Gordon talking in Janet Van Doren's office. Which, if you don't know Janet Van Doren, that's a deep cut, but yeah. They're discussing things. Gordon says everyone targeted has some deep-seated issue with Nigma from his youth. Batman says, "I believe he's using various aliases. He may have been living in the city this entire time." The mayor is considering calling in the National Guard just to maintain order. While this conversation is happening, Catwoman is still going through evidence boxes when a cop walks in. She beats him down, but he is able to set off an alarm. Catwoman finally finds the journal and runs, while Batman gives chase. We then get an action scene of the two running all over Gotham. Some light flirting is happening. Catwoman is able to escape when Clayface threatens some civilians in the street. This was pre-planned. Batman battles Clayface in the street but is again overwhelmed. Before things can get too out of hand, Clayface disappears into the sewers. Batman gives chase but he loses him. He does find some leftover clay and takes back some samples. Catwoman examines the journals. It looks like just a bunch of scribbles. But, nonetheless, she takes pictures of each and every single page and saves them, just in case. Up next, we're at a soccer game. Bruce owns the team, after all. Dick is having fun and meets Talia. This is a little slice of life stuff that I really like. She comments on why would Bruce adopt Dick. Bruce tells Talia how he was there when Dick became an orphan, when the tragedy happened. He says he wanted to be there for him, as an ally, as a friend. Talia says, a father. But why isn't his name Richard Wayne? Bruce says, out of respect for his parents, I learned so much from my mother and father, I would never change my name. Why should he? Dick hears all of this and appreciates it. He seems thankful. A DNA test comes back from the dirt from each of the crime scenes. There's a trace of human DNA in it. It's unstable. Batman gets a call about another murder. Selina meets with the Riddler in private. She hands over the journal and gets paid up. Batman leaves, and Dick asks Alfred, why doesn't he trust me? Master Grayson, it's not that. It's that he doesn't want you to take on more than you can handle right now. At the crime scene, Daniel Powers is dead. The crime scene is messy, sloppy, nothing like the other murders. Batman finds fingerprints for a known henchman. Cut to on top of an apartment complex, Batman has the henchman hanging upside down. He forces him to talk and to give up Nigma's location, as he relates it to Jim. Dick Grayson comes on the radio. Why do you seem angry? Batman says, we're never going to catch Nigma like this. Every other murder was clean, a one-man job, and all of a sudden he sends thugs. We were meant to get here in time. We were meant to get this information. This is part of something. Gordon and the SWAT team show up to the warehouse, but are captured when their cars are smoked out with gas. The driver of the SWAT van is then shown to be Clayface. The van is driven to the warehouse. The cops are being unloaded. Clayface is then being given a shot from Preston. These shots aren't making me feel any better, Doc. Preston says, I don't know what caused this to happen to you. If I knew the exact formula, it could be a different story, but this... Clayface grabs him by the throat. This will take time. Clayface releases him, and he asks, why do you want to be cured? I'm losing myself. I know my name. I have these memories of my family, my friends, my home, but it's all becoming fuzzy. The more I use my powers, the more I lose, and I don't want to lose everything. I'd like to remember my mother's face. Carlo, let the man work. We have some other matters to attend to. An alert has gone out throughout the entire city for the missing officers. It's been almost 24 hours, and even Batman is having trouble locating them. Batman comes across a jewelry heist. The items are already gone, but it's very obvious this was Catwoman. He does manage to find a single hair. Dick asks, why are you chasing Catwoman? Shouldn't Gordon be the priority? His wife is on the news and his daughters are all over social media trying to find it. Wait a second. The Riddler has sent out a challenge to Batman to meet him in the middle of Arkham rink. During the winter, it's an ice rink, but right now, It just serves as a deep pond. Each of the officers, including Gordon, are trapped in pods half submerged in water. The game is simple. Each time Batman gets a riddle right, a cop is saved. If he gets it wrong, the cop drowns. Oh, and he'll be fighting several thugs the entire time. Batman is able to solve all the riddles and get Gordon out, but it's at this point when Alfred alerts Batman to another battle taking place in another part of the town. Catwoman is battling Clayface. Riddler is trying to tie up loose ends, so he sent Carlo to kill Catwoman because she knows about the journal. Before Batman can arrive on the scene, Dick Grayson shows up to try and fight. Both he and Catwoman are overwhelmed. Batman arrives and orders Dick to leave, but he refuses the order. During the fight, this almost gets Batman killed until a broken water main hits Clayface and he's in pain. The water is affecting him, so he runs off. Before Batman can scold Dick Grayson, Catwoman takes off on Dick's motorcycle. Bruce is pissed and grounds Dick Grayson. He can't even go on patrol anymore, or be in the Batcave. Batman tracks down Catwoman to her house. It's a crappy studio apartment, isolated in a bell reef. They battle on the rooftop. It's almost more flirty than actual fighting. He's asking her questions, but she's refusing answers. They get close and kiss. They embrace. She begins to remove his mask when he stops her. She says, "We've been at this for years, Bats. You finally know who I am." He pauses and allows her to remove his mask. "Bruce Wayne, huh? Nice chin." And they kiss. Cut to Clayface trying to recover. He needs help. Riddler tells him that they're almost done. Once they complete his plan, Clayface will be the top priority. We then cut back to Bruce and Selina in bed. They're talking. Bruce says, "I love your apartment." And Selina says, Look, I know it's not the Ritz, but it's my place. It's home." He says, "No, I actually do." Like, they're having a cute little conversation. And Bruce asks, "I know you've stolen millions of dollars worth of jewelry, so why are you here?" And Selina says, "Well, I donate a lot of my money. I donate a lot of it to the women's shelter I used to stay at when I was a teenager. I donate to the orphanage where I grew up. I guess I'm trying to help people that have been good to me." Now, why are you Batman? And it's at this point that Bruce tells the story. Now, up until this point, most of the time, we always see the events that cause Batman's rise. We see his parents being killed in almost every single film. But up until this point, well, at least, up until the Batman came out, it was always shown. But now, I want it told. Just like this. Bear in mind, I'm not an actor, but I want to try. I remember that day. I wanted to go see The Mask of Zorro. It was out. And my father wanted to drive. Alfred was supposed to take us, but my father insisted. He loved to drive. So we go to the movies, we come out, and it's raining. And my dad says, "Let's cut through an alley. It's faster to get back to the car." And as we're going, a man steps out from behind a dumpster, and he has a gun, and he's shaking. He couldn't have been 120 pounds soaking wet. And he asks my dad for money. My mom steps in front of me, and my dad steps in front of her. My dad says it's going to be okay, and he begins to take out his wallet. And there must have been a rat or something in the dumpster, because there was a slight movement. The guy pulled the trigger, and he shot my father in front of me. My mother yelled for just a moment, and he shot her. And then he points the gun at me. He pulls the trigger, but the gun jammed. The gun jammed. You understand what the odds of that are? It jammed, and then he just turned and ran away. For years, I was angry and I blamed myself, but in time, I realized maybe it happened for a reason why the gun jammed. Maybe I'm meant to be here. Maybe I'm meant to make sure that never happens again to another kid. So that's why I do what I do. To try and help. Selina is half at tears. "Is that why you adopted that Grayson kid?" And Bruce says, "Yes. I adopted him to try and help him. I saw him. He was angry, like me. But I wanted to help him cope. The way only we could know. Orphans." Selina says, you adopted him so he could grow up to be like you. And Bruce says, so that he wouldn't. Selina gets up and gives him the USB with the pictures of the journal. She kept it as a backup, just in case. The next day, Bruce and Talia are walking throughout the business district. They're going back and forth on the state of Gotham. Talia believes Gotham might be too far gone. While Batman has done some good, the city might be too poisoned. A fresh start might be best for both of them. Bruce asks, are you? Yes. I'm leaving tomorrow, and I'm asking you to come along. You can bring the boy and your butler, and we could make arrangements for them. We could travel the world together like a real family. Bruce looks down for a moment, and then at her. This place is my home. I can't abandon it to chance. I'm supposed to be here. I need to be here. I'm sorry. Heartbroken, Talia says she understands, and leaves. While Bruce is with Talia, a transmission comes through. It's obviously the Riddler again. He feeds another riddle, but this time, Dick Grayson hides it. He wants to try and find it himself. In the Batcave, Batman is going over the notes from Velma Blake. Dick is forbidden to help. A news alert comes on that a storm is approaching Gotham, and the city is beginning to go on lockdown. Dick Grayson is able to figure out the riddle, but the location is Wayne Tech Tower. He doesn't quite understand why. He gets up to go tell Bruce, but then he looks at a poster of the Flying Graysons on the wall. He has to do it his way. This is the part where he spray paints his costume to the iconic green, red, and yellow. Riddler, Clayface, and a group of mercs storm Wayne Tech as Nigma uses Preston's ID info to get into a secure area of the building. They take over control of the room for the floodgates and begin to open them, slowly flooding the wealthy side of Gotham. Dick Grayson arrives at Wayne Tech just in time to see the guards already knocked out, but with the power out to most of the city, there's no one to call. Robin sends out yet another SOS before engaging in a fight with the Riddler's men. Meanwhile, Bruce is going through the journal and finds a passage. It talks about Nigma and Velma, and he pressured her and... oh my god. And that's when he gets the SOS. Bruce jumps in the Batmobile while asking Alfred to call Gordon and Selina. With Robin captured, Riddler explains his plan. You're gonna just let Gotham drown? Well, no, not the whole city, just the rich side. The plan isn't to blow up Gotham. That's stupid and childish. They'd resist. It'll never work. But if I can drive out the wealthy, the elites, they'll take the jobs and the money with them. Poverty rates go up, so does crime. The city will kill itself bit by bit, and I'll watch for as long as I can. He reveals that he has cancer. I went through the normal stages. Denial, anger, bargaining, all that. But death? No, death gives you perspective. Now thought back to a time when was I ever truly happy? And that's when I was this. Not Edward Nigma, but the Riddler. Always one step ahead. Batman gets to the building, but it's Gordon by himself. Where's the SWAT team? Every cop in the city is scrambling right now, trying to evacuate people from flood zones. It's just me. We have to be enough. Batman and Gordon fight their way up the tower while Robin keeps Riddler talking. It's at this point where Gordon and Batman get to the floor of the control room. It's them versus Clayface. Clayface seemingly has the upper hand, but when Selina frees Robin, it's 4-on-1. But they're still losing. Just as Clayface is about to kill Robin, Batman yells, "Nigma lied to you." Clayface stops and turns. What do you mean? Velma Blake, the woman you murdered. Did you recognize her? The news anchor? Yes, but before that, she was a nurse's assistant at Gotham General, in the rehab ward. You were trying to get clean. You were told you were being given a miracle drug to help stop the withdrawal effects, to stop your addiction. It wasn't. It was the Riddler's creation. He convinced Velma that it could be a breakthrough and help people. She was young and naive. She gave it to you and a few others, but you were the only one to survive. And then, in your darkest moment, someone lent out a hand to help you. He gave you a place to be accepted. And when you began to break down, he promised to find a cure. Clayface looks at Nigma betrayed. He had you kidnap Preston not because he could cure you, but because he had clearance to get to this floor, so that he could get the gates open and flood the city. Clayface looks at the Riddler. Is this true? Doesn't matter? We won. Clayface goes ballistic, destroying the control room. Batman grabs Riddler and runs out of the room with Clayface in pursuit. Gordon stays behind to try and get the gates closed. Clayface is slowly becoming bigger and bigger, using rubble from the tower, becoming more and more monstrous until he becomes this hulking son of a bitch from, I think it's Arkham City? Yeah, Arkham City. The fight continues in the R&D department. Catwoman injures her arm, Batman uses a fire hose, but the water isn't working. Nothing is working. But that's when he remembers the winter. There's an old weapon by the scientist Victor Freeze. Maybe that can be of use. Batman and Robin have their plan. Batman will find the freeze gun while Robin distracts Clayface. There's trust there. He's ready. Robin uses his acrobatics to dodge Clayface until Batman can use the weapon to freeze him. We then get a voiceover from Batman. Clayface will be sent to Arkham, kept in the basement next to a small lab. Wayne scientists will also be on hand to try and find a cure for Basil Karlo. No one is beyond redemption. Riddler will also be sent to Arkham to live out the remainder of his days. Gordon was able to reseal the city after saving most of it. We then cut to Wayne Manor. Around the table, we see Robin, Batman, and an injured Catwoman, along with Alfred, eating breakfast. This film ends on a happier note. This small found family eating together. Batman is a little more optimistic leaving the film. We establish his relationship with Catwoman, Alfred, and Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson becomes Robin. He earns the title. Now, I know what you're waiting for. There's not one, but two after credit scenes, one longer than the other. The first after credit scene is at Wayne Tech Tower. A man takes a sample of DNA of blood from the floor. It's Batman's blood. I have it, he says into an earpiece. Good, says Talia over the phone in her private jet. The second after credit scene is longer, but it explains a lot. It's 30 years in the past. We see four men in the Arctic. They come across a spaceship. As they begin to investigate, it's very clear that it's alien in nature. All of a sudden, it turns on, and there's a voice from a panel saying, Hello. Hello, is there anyone there? The ship, it can sense intelligent life. There's someone on the ship. It's a scout ship from a planet. Is there anyone there? One of the gentlemen walks towards the panel and clicks on the button. Hello? Yes, we're here. The voice from the other end says, My planet, it's imploding. I need a place to send my son. Somewhere he can be safe. The scout ship says that the planet is inhabitable, that there's intelligent life, but will he be safe there? The man on Earth says, Yes, you have my word. If your son comes here, he can be safe. This world is a good place. The man on the other line says, Thank you. The man we see says, What is your name? On the intercom, he says, My name is Jor-El. What is yours? The man says, My name is Thomas Wayne. Jor-El says, I have to run. Thank you. And we hear Thomas say, Good luck. And that is why the government never came after Clark, because Thomas Wayne covered everything up. But we'll dive more into that later on. But yes, this is the last end credit scene that we're going to go with. And that's it. Thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. This has been a passion project that I've been working on since, I guess, technically 2012. Been trying to record this. This is, for the record, I'm on like the 12th. No, that's a lie. Maybe like the 9th version I've recorded this, like all the way through. It just never really comes out right. So here's hoping this one comes out great. I hope you all enjoy it. I promise you it's not going to take long to do the next video. Maybe we can do it like once a month, if that, if you all enjoy it. Yeah. Thank you for coming to my DC universe. Yeah. We'll catch y'all later. Thank you, everyone.